Boxmac, EJ's Game of Thrones reviews, and the George Lucas parody cartoons are the videos that bring in most of Red Cow's subscribers. But across the 800 plus videos on our YouTube channel and website, there are many more we're proud of and we think people would enjoy. So with that, I'm Frankie, and these are 15 videos that I ranked as the best Red Cow videos you might not have seen. This list does exclude our feature films. All links are in the description. Number 15, Having Fun Up There Festival blog, Every Blog's Longer in Texas. Sometimes our special features for our films develop into short documentaries unto themselves. Having Fun Up There was a movie we released in 2014, and it led to a number of fun travel experiences for festivals in Seattle and Buffalo, Niagara, but the Austin Film Festival was the biggest stage to which we had ever been invited. We were able to connect with close friends who lived in the area, see some barbecue pits, speak with young filmmakers, and screen the film twice. While one of those screenings was well attended, the other wasn't, and in this mini doc, you get to see me have a small crisis where I feel down on the idea of continuing to create content. But I was feeling like giving up filmmaking. Like enough of this shit.
It's ridiculous. It's about making the art. That's what the movie is about.
Number 14, I Need to Lose 10 Pounds featurette, Funeral Home Scene. This video documents an historically significant moment in which I attempted to begin principal production on my first feature. While the scene was ultimately cut, it does technically mark the kickoff to a grueling 3-year endeavor to make a 90-minute film in my teens. Most notably, the scene we were trying to shoot called for a ninja, and so we asked the one male Okinawan foreign exchange student if he'd do it. He may have said yes without knowing what he was saying yes to, and without his hosts knowing, we picked him up at 5 a.m., brought him to Nina's family's funeral home, gave him a sword, and directed him through a ridiculous and violent scene for the next 6 hours. Most of the cast and crew, including myself, were 16, and apart from the 22-year-old Junt, there was no adult supervision.
It felt a little slow-paced.
Despite the real weapons being used as props. I'm 31 now, and if I walked in on this, I would shut it down right away. I found this footage a few years ago and recently edited it, memorializing it as a fascinating account of our early DIY roots.
Alan's in the coffin, and Tomoya is making hand puppets with the lights. So it's hard for me to do anything.
Number 13, all week you've been an awful bitch. While shooting the intros for the special features on the I Need to Lose 10 Pounds DVD, a real-life fight broke out. My co-writer, Will, had parked in John's sister's parking spot in their driveway, and she decided it would be the last time. She begins berating him for it, when Junt decides to strike back, telling her,
Jeez, Michaela, you're being an awful bitch today. This whole week, you're being an awful bitch.
Will and I are deer in headlights as this all goes down on camera.
So enjoy. Enjoy.
Number 12, EJ Reviews, Panasonic GH4. Before EJ was cooking and reviewing TV, he had developed his on-screen persona and style specifically for camera gear reviews.
Also, the state of Massachusetts prohibits EJ Master from using a tripod because of the high likelihood he'll use it as a weapon.
He started to really hit his stride by the time he evaluated the GH4, which actually inspired me to go out and buy one, and would be the camera with which we shot Boxmac and lots of other content. But most importantly, EJ was able to capture a baby goose pooping in glorious 4K, guaranteeing this video's spot on the list.
I make art.
Number 11, What's Going On Here? The Making of Sexually Frank.
What's going on here?
For all of our feature films, we document the production process extensively. Our third film, Sexually Frank, easily had a place in my heart for the most fun I had producing a film. We shot it on weekends throughout the summer of 2010. It had a lot of locations and scope, and I made it for my MFA thesis, so I got a lot of great feedback across the several years I was in grad school. Because production was stretched out over all that time, we ended up producing over 20 video blogs. I cut them all down and strung them together to make this making of documentary called What's Going On Here. In the 42-minute runtime, you get to see us develop the tech for the film, cast it, shoot it, edit it, screen it, and so much more. The key players are mostly our crew, including Junt on audio, who aren't on camera much, if at all, in the final film, so it's fun to see everything from their perspective. Number 10, Abo Blog, The Trip to PA. This video documents one of the coolest filmmaking experiences I've ever had. In 2006, we decided to make a comedy about a half-man, half-ape, which was going to require prosthetic creature makeup. A former high school classmate connected me with Makeup Mark Santos, who was studying at the Tom Savini School of Special Effects Makeup near Pittsburgh. Because 10 Pounds had won Troma Dance 2006, I played up the fact that Abo would likely be distributed by Troma, so Mark was excited for the opportunity to design and build the creature. He invited me out, and Nina and Aaron wanted to join, but we all had to fit the trip into our work schedules. I was scooping ice cream, and they were nursing assistants. So Aaron picked me up in his Celica at midnight, and off to Pittsburgh we went. I got my head cast, which was a very unique experience. Mark was even supervised by makeup industry professionals like Jerry Gergley. After, we visited the Liberty Bell, the Rocky Steps, and much more. It was one of the most memorable road trips of my life.
Look at 35 miles per hour. For 150 miles, you know how long that's gonna take? Like 14 days.
Number 9, Tuna Cake. Sometimes the best videos happen without any planning or prior thought. Junt hosts parties regularly at his house, normally Christmas and summer cookouts. One year, Aaron and others were remarking that a cake looked like it had tuna on it and were calling it the tuna cake. Because I missed the inception of the joke, I thought they were serious that someone had brought a cake with tuna on it or in it, which made me a subject of ridicule for a few hours. At the next cookout, Aaron decided to bring the real thing, whisking in cans of tuna into the cake mix.
Instead of using water, I used tuna juice. 1 1/4 cup.
Everyone tried it for a lark, but Nina actually barfed. The video descends into hysteria as we burn the cake and the plate it was brought on. Nina became a vegan later that year.
It's tuna in the cake! This woman's been poisoned!
Number 8, deleted art school scene from Sexually Frank. I went to film school for both undergrad and grad, and had to tolerate a few pretentious professors in classrooms. A particularly bad one was a sound design class, taught by a man who didn't believe in musical instruments of any kind. Students brought in abstract soundscapes that sounded nonsensical, and were praised for it. To help me with my final, Junt actually pounded on his keyboard for a while, and I submitted that, and I got an A. No lie. A couple of years later, I wrote a version of my experience for Sexually Frank, but it ultimately didn't fit the narrative. Instead, it works well as a hilarious standalone short film that has cracked up anyone who can't stand art school pretense.
Like sand?
It is like sand. How is it like sand?
Number 7, 2 Days at Nuke High. Though not currently available publicly on the internet, I shot documentary footage for my friend Jeff on the set of Troma's Return to Nuke High. He was making a doc about Troma president Lloyd Kaufman, but since I had copies of the footage, I decided to cut it into a standalone documentary just about the production. What resulted was an interesting look from the inside of a Troma production, not produced by Troma staff. We get to see a full body burn, interactions with the local government of Niagara Falls where they were shooting, the bizarre living quarters of the cast and crew, and a look at an aging director leading an army of 20-somethings.
Let's do it again. When you guys handle the bird, try to jiggle it a little better so it looks more lively. And maybe only 2 of you should say I'm fearful that the public won't understand what it is.
Number 6, what's in Junt's cart? Raynham Flea Market. I almost left Junt's cart off the list since it's so closely associated with Boxmac, but I can see some fans watching Boxmac and never trying Junt's cart. The show is simple. We follow Junt and observe his shopping inner monologue as he searches for deals and teaches us about retail. In these episodes, which I believe are the best, I introduce Junt to one of the largest flea markets in our New England area. The show is elevated by EJ's Nikon camera, and we get to see a bevy of collectibles, retro video games, wood carving. Just a fun time and a really entertaining watch.
If I didn't have anything at all in my life, I would come here to restock my life.
Number 5, Dunks. Before there were EJ Reviews, there was EJ Comic. For about a year, EJ released a short comedy animation almost every week, producing 41 total. After the first 5, EJ wanted another voice actor in the mix and asked me. We had spoken a few times in grad school about collaborating on an animation, since he was an animator and I had success with the Lord of the Rings by George Lucas cartoon, but this was the first time we did something together. The script was of course very funny, and I got to do a version of my father's voice, which is one of my favorites. EJ would invite me to voice a number of other EJ comics, normally emailing me with a few lines and just a tiny bit of direction, and I would get him the recording, and a few days later I get to see a really cool animation. It's my Dunks!
Yes.
Number 4, How Are We 44, Christmas 2012, That's Too Much! How Are We was a comedy podcast hosted by myself, Aaron St. Laurent, and often Junt, Nina, and others. Most of the 80-plus episodes are audio only, but 10 or so were filmed. This famous Christmas special, which predates Boxmac and Junt's Cart and the rest of the Junt content empire, features a game called That's Too Much, in which John came prepared with items he either has or hasn't bought or would or wouldn't buy. We have to guess, and those who know Frugal Junt best wins. It gets competitive and absurd, and is one of the funniest podcast moments in Red Cow history.
I'm buying a 3-pack of men's underwear with slight imperfections.
Number 3, The Making of Brain-Eating Aliens. When you're in film school, you're supposed to befriend other filmmakers and work on their projects. Our friend Dan belonged to a comedy troupe that wrote a sketch called Brain-Eating Aliens, and I completely forgot what it was about, although our actor friend and now famous Matt McGorry was set to act in it. Dan decided to shoot Brain-Eating Aliens as his film capstone project in the middle of the woods in snowy New Hampshire on Easter Sunday 2007. His goal was to shoot at nighttime and light the scene using electricity from a friend's parents' cabin. The path to the cabin, we immediately found out on the day of shooting, was snowed in and inaccessible. The large group of camera technicians, actors, and friends, all around 21 years old, stalled indecisively for a few hours as night drew closer and colder. Eventually, the camera crew angrily quit, and the rest of us trudged through the snow to the cabin, which we discovered had the power shut off. And I got it all on film. It's the Lost in La Mancha of idiotic film students, and a cautionary tale about safety and planning. And there's a pretty good twist ending.
I'm not doing it, Peter's not doing it, the camera team just dropped off.
Okay.
Did you drive this car here?
Yeah, I drove it too.
Well, we're gonna need.
I recorded that.
Number 2, final exam. Freshman year of film school, I had fallen in with a group of very talented and unique creators. A competition called Campus Movie Fest had come around, challenging film students to make a film in 48 hours using only one camera and iMovie with the theme Expanding Horizons. After much debate, our go-to writer, Jake Emanuel, wrote a breezy short film in which a student would be struggling with his test, distracted by his hot teacher, and would fall into a fantasy in which he kisses her and participates in a big outdoor dance number. After thinking about it for a while, the director, Doug Bergdorf, and I rethought the dance number to instead be a schools out for summer style celebration, with other students dancing, stripping, and rocking out. A group of 20 of us took over a classroom at nighttime and shot the scene, almost silently, as we didn't want to be found out. Doug ultimately shot and edited an amazing and upbeat short film that went on to win us the entire New England competition for Campus Movie Fest. The prizes were a Mac Mini for each participant and Delta Airline tickets to anywhere in the U.S., including the territories. Doug and I went to the Cayman Islands that summer. Number 1, Vince Gilligan Gold. After EJ Comic, EJ was still itching to find a good group of collaborators to work with. Having seen the success of Lord of the Rings by George Lucas, he had pitched making more cartoons like that, where I would write and voice and he would animate. We made a parody of typical Kickstarter pitch videos, which nearly made the list, but soon after we made Vince Gilligan Gold. Both of us are big Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul fans, and we both agree that creator Vince Gilligan seems to turn everything he writes, or shits, into gold. We envisioned him as a golden goose and thought that might make a good next cartoon. I quickly wrote a juvenile but inside script that would really only make sense to Breaking Bad fans, if anyone at all. It was so ridiculous I doubted it would work. EJ's animation, in my opinion, made it work perfectly. The jokes were spot on, the satire was high concept, and the plethora of poop jokes, well, they made me laugh. I think this is one of our best videos on the channel, perhaps not seen or understood by as many people as it could be, so it gets my number 1 spot. Oh, excuse me. I gotta go, fill the peanut butter jar. If you watch all 15 of these videos, that's 5 hours and 12 minutes of content waiting for you. I hope you find at least a few of these entertaining and become even bigger Red Cow fans. If you enjoyed this countdown, we can do more, like top podcast episodes, Box Mac moments, lots more. Comment below. Thanks for watching.
We're driving 3 hours up here to shoot an alien movie. Why is it in the snow at night?
You want an actual answer?
Yeah.